Welcome to Read, Watch, Play, your dive into the stories we love and how they're adapted. I'm here with Nick Hinkson. My name is Randy Berridge, and I'd like to shoot you in the face with a nail gun and dissolve you in acid. This is episode 24 of Read, Watch, Play, and we are covering American Psycho. Nick, I would love to do this episode, but I missed the Patty Winter show this morning, so I got to go watch that. Is that all right?
No. You're supposed to answer my questions about clothing. I need to know when I can wear cufflinks with a colored shirt. I need to know what lapels are in these days. How am I going to do this if you're returning videotapes?
I got to go return some videotapes. Just sorry. I cannot handle this right now. By the way, right now, I'm wearing double-pocketed sweatshorts by Marine Layer, an Odessa white t-shirt that is tagless because it scratched my neck, and LL Bean moccasins. What are you
I'm
wearing?
wearing those double-pocketed basketball shorts from Nike,
Yeah.
a brown Abercrombie shirt, and a hat that I got in a Super Wings.
Nice. Where'd you get those shorts? Dick's Sporting Goods?
Honestly, I don't know. I think I probably took them from like one of my roommates in college because they're really old and really beat up. And I definitely didn't buy these, but I have no idea where they came from.
I would not pass the Patrick Bateman test.
It wouldn't. To be fair, saying you want to shoot me in the face with a nail gun and dissolve me in acid is not the worst thing you've said to me in the intros. So,
just to be clear, I wasn't saying I wanted to shoot you in the face. I was just letting the world know.
Oh, you just want to do it to the people that actually took the time to listen to this.
The people that actually took the time, yeah. If you're new here.
Good stuff. Run.
Run. We cover adaptations, books, movies, games, comics, you name it. Every other Tuesday we release. Please, I was thinking about this, I can't believe I'm at the point in my life where I'm telling people to hit the subscribe button, but here we are. Hit the subscribe button, follow the show on whatever podcast app of choice you use. Last episode, we covered Casino Royale with Logan from Unbuckled Comics. It was Nick and I's first foray into the Bond literary world. I think we both had a real good time with it. I enjoyed that book way more than I was kind of expecting, even as a Bond fan. This week, American Psycho. As always, if you're here for just the movie discussion, show notes, you can jump ahead to that. But if you have a passing interest in the book, we'll give you the rundown if it's worth your time, some big topics to discuss. A few other big things coming up. We have our 25th episode, and we are celebrating that in a big way with Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. No doubt, a giant, probably on the Mount Rushmore, as Nick and I would say, in the world of literary adaptations. Something we grew up with. Nick and I were probably in the same elementary school class, getting read the first book, going to the Scholastic Book Fair and buying the posters. So this is one near and dear to our hearts. Also coming up, 1 year anniversary of the podcast. To celebrate this, we are doing a remaster by revisiting Jurassic Park. At this point, we are deeply embarrassed by that episode, so we want to do it again.
Deeply. I tell Randy once a month that we need to take it down. It's
part of it.
Never let it see the light of day again.
So this is something we might do, over time, is remaster some of our episodes, especially for really popular ones, which Jurassic Park is. Final update. We are going to start bringing all of you one new bonus episode per month. We have long talked about how we could do more episodes, but with the type of content we cover on our regular show, just not going to happen. Books take a long time to read. Games take a long time to play. The only easy one is honestly movies. But we're going to be bringing you a sort of running series that alternates between Action All-Stars, Nick and I covering dumb action movies we love and giving out even dumber awards for them. And then kind of a horror themed show where Nick is going to make me watch a horror movie and I'm going to say how much it scared the shit out of me and whether I think other people who consider themselves weenies can handle it as well. Most of the time it's going to be no. And I'm not looking forward to the first one, which I think is Smile.
Smile and Smile too.
Yeah.
You got to watch both. And the second one you've got to see in theaters. So get ready.
Nick, where can people follow the show?
Yeah, first and foremost, you can find us on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. As Randy said, please subscribe. It goes a long way to helping us get our names out there. You can follow us on Instagram at Read, Watch, Play Podcast. That's where we interact with people the most. You can comment, DM, you'll see messages on upcoming or posts on upcoming episodes. So we'd love for you to get involved there. And as always, if you have negative reviews that you want Randy and Randy alone to read, you can find it at the Gmail, freetowatchplaypod@gmail.com.
I had a question for you at the start of this, but I think let's just consider this a rapid fire question, pew pew, and just get right into it.
Boom.
Is this the most grotesque novel you've ever read?
Probably.
It's deeply uncomfortable at times.
I know we're not supposed to elaborate on these, but I'm thinking like maybe something by Stephen King has made me feel worse than this, but this was rough.
Yeah. This is a deeply uncomfortable novel. I have another one.
Okay. Man, you're
I know I came
it
with two,
today.
but I'm sure you have some, which I want to hear. Hypothetically speaking, if you had to murder someone, what song would it be to?
Wake Me Up Before You Go by Wham.
There's something about the 80s tunes that just make the murdering more palatable and so enjoyable.
Huey Lewis in the News was a godsend in this movie because it allowed me to get through some scenes.
Yeah. I was thinking maybe Pat Benatar, Hit Me With Your Best Shot would be a good one. I was also thinking maybe
while you're using your nail gun.
True. Or a Flock of Seagulls, I Ran, especially if who I'm murdering starts to escape and I need to chase them a little bit, like Pat does with the amazing chainsaw drop, by the way. Like, timed that perfectly in the movie. Do you have any pew-pews for me?
What about Africa by Toto?
I know. Toto's a good one. Yeah, I don't know. I just couldn't do anything outside of 80s, I think.
Really?
I don't know. It's that there's this happy-go-lucky synth vibe that just makes, I don't know. It really fits the theme of the murder.
This rapid question I had, I actually do want you to elaborate a little bit.
Okay.
What kind of business card would you have?
I would maybe use do you remember in Paint when we were kids how you would always put the titles of your documents or something with the word art, and there was like that blue one that kind of scaled back? I think I would do my name scaling back like that, with that has kind of like the yellow border to it with like that real Crown Royal blue. That's what I'd maybe do.
Okay.
It'd maybe pop off. I think Bateman would have probably an aneurysm if he saw it. It'd be so good. What about you?
Ooh, I think I'd have to go. I actually, not gonna lie, they describe some pretty nice business cards in the in the movie and in the book. I might have to go take one out of their playbook. Maybe something with that off-white, slightly raised, thicker texture.
Yeah.
I don't even have business cards right now, I don't think.
Yeah.
Maybe. I'd have to go check.
I was watching that scene and I was like, I feel like Nick would be kind of into this conversation going on at this business card table here.
I mean, would I hold my own? Absolutely.
Synopsis. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, should we get right into it and just talk about how depressed we've been for the last 2 weeks reading this book?
Yes. American Psycho, if you have not heard of it, is a satirical horror novel by Bret Easton Ellis that takes you into the mind of Patrick Bateman, a mid-20s investment banker in Manhattan. Through Bateman's point of view, you get to see his obsession with the Patty Winters show, clothing, restaurants, hard bodies, viciously murdering people in the Upper West Side. The book takes you through Bateman's plunge into madness as he becomes increasingly unhinged throughout the book, making you fear for everyone that he comes in contact with, and possibly your own mental state reading this torrid affair. Anything you would add to what this book is about?
Yeah, I mean, for those of you who are into thrillers or, especially psychological thrillers, this is your classic unreliable narrator. Spoiler alert, it's your classic unreliable narrator book. So if that's something you enjoy, maybe you can get behind this if you're into that kind of thing. There's a lot going on here. Randy, my first question for you is, did you watch the movie or read the book first?
Movie, but many times. I probably saw the movie early to mid 2000s for the first time, and I did not know this was a book until we started this podcast. And I think you suggested American Psycho. I did not know it was a book. Well, obviously you did, but I'm assuming you saw the movie first.
Yeah, I did. And I actually hadn't read the book until we did it for this. So then follow-up question. Do you think the book did a good job disguising the fact that this is an unreliable narrator? I mean, in the movie, you find out when you're supposed to in the movie, but and I know it's harder when you've watched the movie, you know the answers.
Yeah.
Did you think that we had a good job here of hiding that, or did you feel it was telecast pretty early on?
I think, I'll be honest, I think it was pretty expertly done in that I found you immediately realize how mentally disturbed, if that's the right word for this, Bateman is. Like, it's very clear that the way his mind just runs through thoughts, almost like a Jack Torrance towards the second half of The Shining, that this guy is not okay. But you're not immediately suspecting that he's unreliable at the start. At least I didn't until maybe the latter half of the book.
Yeah.
So in the first half, I think it's unfortunate because not much goes on in the first half of the book, and that's probably why they skipped the entire first half of the book in the movie. But you kind of do need that to build up the psychosis of Bateman in the book to have the payoff and have the second half work. So I think he did a good job with it. And I think he did a good job of conveying, even in small ways in the beginning, how this is not a maybe normal mind, for lack of a better word, processing thoughts and feelings. Did you find, knowing where this was going in some ways, that it was telegraphed?
No, I agree with you. I thought it was pretty well done. I think the book is a lot less palatable than the movie. So one of the things that
Understatement.
One of the things that I thought throughout the book was, there's no way this is happening. And I feel like it not that it was telegraphed, it just, because it was so unpalatable, I found myself thinking, I don't think a reader's really going to buy into all of this actually happening because it's so fucked. I don't know how else to put that.
Yeah, it's interesting because when reading through it, because a murder happens in the movie pretty early on, but in the book, you don't really get a murder scene for I'd say a good 150 to 200 pages into it. Like direct description of a murder. And I remember reading this book and I'm like, when are we going to get to this? Because all we're getting is descriptions of nightclubs and restaurants and clothing.
What people are wearing.
Yeah. And the Les Mis recordings. And once the murder started happening, I immediately wanted them to stop. I did not want to read any more of this. It was truly tough. And I'm pretty sure you listened to this whole book as an audiobook, right?
I did. I listened to it on a flight to London and then on a train ride from London to Edinburgh and back. And it was not a vacation read. I'll tell you what, that was a poor choice for me. That was not a vacation read. And what's funny is I thought we were doing this before before Casino Royale. So I could have been watching Casino Royale, reading Casino Royale. No, I chose American Psycho. Put me in a real good mood for a trip.
Yeah, that's not the headspace. This was, I don't know how you did that, because I read most of this book and then the last, I'd say 100 to 150 pages I listened to, just because I was pressed for time getting this done. I was trying to listen to this walking in the morning or in the grocery store. And I'm like, I have to turn this off, because if somehow my phone were to start projecting out loud, not in my headphones, what is being said in my ears right now, I'm literally going to be arrested. Like
As you should be.
truly disgusting stuff. Yeah, I found that listening to this was way tougher than just reading it.
Maybe I should have read it then.
Yeah, you should have. Because I'll be honest, there were a few parts of the book that I like skipped a few pages because I was like, I just can't read anymore about this. Like it is so insanely detailed. Like I'd say 10x more tough than the movie.
You know something I also thought was interesting about the book?
Yeah.
I felt like the detective played way less of a role.
I mean, it was one scene, one detective scene.
Yeah.
I was surprised for me revisiting the movie. I was like, oh, Willem Dafoe is like, there's a progression.
Yeah. I mean, he rarely even calls back to thinking about the detective, which I thought it was, and we'll talk about this later, key catchphrase right there.
Yeah.
But it's a good movie adaptation choice.
Yeah.
But I thought that was interesting about the book. The other thing I thought was super interesting about the book, and tell me if you thought so as well. There's a chapter called Nels, and Francesca makes a comment to Daisy, who is dating Patrick Bateman, played by Christian Bale. And she says, "What are you doing with a man like Batman?" And I just started dying.
Yeah.
In what universe does that actually work out to where the man who plays that, I mean, how many years before The Dark Knight did American Psycho come out?
I think this came out in 91. So this is a good 15 years before Batman Begins.
Let's see.
Easily, right?
Batman Begins was 2005. Yeah. Jesus.
14 years.
That's wild. That was a little fun. That made me chuckle. I enjoyed it.
This book in general is quite funny at times. Like they really ramp it up in the movie, kind of the humor aspect of it. I think we'll talk about the movie. They just tapped into that so well. But the book had some lines that like really made me laugh out loud at times with like it just Bateman being Bateman.
Like, how much he hates everybody.
Yeah, there was one thing he said, I wrote it down because I did not want to forget. Someone like guffaws at dinner, and he uses the word guffaws, and he says like, which I found deeply upsetting. Or like when the one, who's the girl that he sees that is like always drugged out? Elizabeth?
Something like that, remember, yeah.
But she orders like some cold gazpacho soup at a restaurant, and he's like, by the way, Elizabeth is over there blowing on her cold soup to cool it down. And like he'll just like have these like quips like that where he's like so upset, like so deeply enraged about the most nonsensical thing that it's like hilarious. I guess we didn't really say at the top. Did you like this book?
No. I thought it was well written, but it was okay. No, I did not like this book, but I did think it was very well written. It was just really hard for me. It's not the type of thing I enjoy reading. It's something so grotesque, and it really put me in a weird headspace. And it's what it's designed to do, and it absolutely came through on that aspect. That's just not my thing.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's like you can respect this, but realize that this is not for you. Yeah, I'm in a similar boat where I think I've grown to like it more the further and further I get away from having actually experienced the read of it. Yeah, like I'm going to remember this book.
That's a really good point.
To remember how well it was written, how impactful the character of Bateman was, and I'm going to think about it probably for the rest of my life. But did I have a good time going through these pages? I did not. I did not at all. Did the book not do anything well, like outside of the obvious grossness of so many of the scenes? Was there anything you didn't like about it?
No, and I think you and I actually are going to have opposite takes on this, but I thought the exhaustion of hating on people and restaurants and the just obnoxious descriptions of clothing
Yeah.
really added something to the psychosis of Bateman. And if there had been less of that, I don't think his mental state would have, like, on a day-to-day basis, not even when
Yeah.
you're thinking about all the grotesque things he's thinking
Yeah.
or finding out that he was just thinking. Just like, what type of people are the characters in this book? And they're all despicable, awful Wall Street douchebags. And those descriptions and the way they have those conversations on the phone, where you understand that it's not just Bateman, they all think this way. I think it adds to the level of deplorability. Is that a word?
Yeah.
The characters?
I don't disagree at all. And like, maybe me considering this as like something the book didn't do well, incorrect, as it's almost like it's the equivalent to me of what we described with 2001: A Space Odyssey, the like 20-minute through space scene where I'm like, I know what you're doing here. You're trying to like make me feel like I'm going on this journey and I'm exhausted. Doesn't mean I liked it. And like, I just got to the point in the book where with like the clothing descriptions, I was just like, my eyes would skim to the paragraph where I didn't see clothing descriptions anymore. But you're right. It doesn't work without it. Like it does not work at all if you don't have. And I do agree that the like critique of yuppie culture in Manhattan is amazing. And it's like maybe the most enjoyable thing about the book and the movie is like how ridiculous these people are and just completely vapid and shallow.
Yeah, I realized I didn't answer your question at all. I just knew what you were going to say and made a counterpoint.
No, you're good.
So what did the book not do well? To be honest, I thought it was a good book. Like, if it was something that I enjoyed reading, like that type of book, and that's what I was looking for, I would probably rate this very highly on Goodreads, maybe like a 4 out of 5.
Yeah.
You know, like definitely well above average. So I don't really know. And I think part of it was I was just so upset listening to that I wasn't even thinking about what it wasn't doing well.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally know what you mean. There's just no two ways about it. This is not something you digest and are having a good time with. I don't even know why it feels different than The Shining. I think it's just the level of exhaustive detail he goes into, and especially because I don't know, I can't even say it's just like the man on woman violence in this, because even like the killing of the homeless person scene was just like deeply upsetting for me, and like stomping on the dog. But the rat chapter, I had to skip to the end. Like I got to a certain point in that chapter which I'm like, I just cannot. I don't want to read any more of this. I don't want to listen to this. I'm out. Like Bret Easton Ellis, I tap. I'm done.
So, in your opinion, with those thoughts in mind, what did the movie need to do really well to be a successful adaptation?
Yeah, I mean, this was the issue of the movie getting off the ground. Just to convert this to a movie, how do you possibly do this without having like, what is the rating above R? Like a NC? I don't even know. Is it NC-17 or is that video games or is it X or something?
I think it's like X. NC-17 would be less than R because for R you need to be 18.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, maybe NC-17 is like video games or something. I think it's how do you convert this into something that you can actually like watch without it being so disgusting that it's just a pure slasher. And I think it's like, how do you capture like the humor that exists within the satire and like almost the takedown Easton Ellis wants to do of these type of people in this culture at this time in New York City. Like if you don't translate that, it's just not going to work.
Yeah.
What would you say?
Completely agreed. I think you have to decide right off the bat, are you making this murder porn or are you going to make this more palatable? And once you make that decision, you can go ahead with how you're going to adapt this book. But I think and not that every adaptation doesn't need a clear vision, but here I think you needed to be really careful about what you included and excluded, because depending on that, you're making two very different movies. And we're talking about a scene or two, really,
Yeah.
is the difference, or how a scene is portrayed is the difference.
Yeah.
And so I think that was my key to the adaptation, clear vision.
No, I'd agree. Before we move on to movie, were there any scenes or chapters that you thought really stood out upon read?
If we are excluding the murder scenes, the just ridiculousness of the murder scenes, the one scene, not even the chapter, the one scene that stuck out as the epitome of what we were talking about, how these guys are massive douchebags, whatever, was when they're all on the phone trying to make a reservation for 9 p.m. and bouncing back and forth between call waiting. And there's like 4 of them getting different people on the line and bouncing to call waiting and coming back. I was dying. I thought that scene was hysterical. It was a clear winner for me of really being exactly what the author was going for.
Yeah. Yeah, that was like peak humor that this book and the movie nails.
Yes.
The two that I really liked were Dinner with Bethany, his ex-girlfriend, which dissolved into a horrifying scene when she then is murdered. But I just loved that you get this picture of Bateman in college, and from someone who knew him before where he is now, and someone who could penetrate him on a little bit deeper level than it seemed any of the other characters could. So I really enjoyed that dinner scene with them. I thought it was like really electric, or lunch scene, whatever it was. And then that first detective scene, I guess the only detective scene in the book.
Yeah.
Where Bateman's kind of getting caught in the lie and like really overplaying his hand. And at this point, he's kind of already off his rocker. So I really enjoyed, especially when you come to the end of the book and the end of the movie, where everything's put into question and you're asking yourself, you know, is this detective just like wondering, what is this loon talking about? Where Bateman is like feeling like he's suspecting him of murder, and you're like, did he even kill this guy? So it just like, it adds a whole new layer to that scene, you know, after you get to the end.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great one.
I normally ask you, does the movie plot differ from the book plot? How would you describe it? But is there anything really different here about what's going on in the movie versus the book?
No. I was thinking about that, and I was looking at your notes, and I will say that it's like the hot tub jacuzzi thing, where all of the scenes in the movie are in the book, but not all of the scenes in the book are in the movie.
Yeah.
So for those who decide to go read the book, what you're going to get is more in depth of everything in the movie.
Yeah. To a level of depthness that you probably will not want to go.
No.
Yeah, I'd say if you really love this movie, maybe check out the book. It's hard to recommend this. Like, it's one of those books where it's one of the better books I've read that I really do not want to recommend to anyone to put them through it. But if you like this movie, have at it.
Or don't.
Yeah, or don't have at it. I'm not going to try and have this go on forever. As we've already talked.
Are you sure?
I know.
It's like 17 pages of notes you have here for the next 2 sections.
I've already figured out in my head how to summarize it.
Let's hear it.
Because this is, I mean, the big thing was they tried to get this movie off the ground. They couldn't do it because it was too gruesome originally. Ellis was fighting with an original director who considered all of the nightclub material to be completely boring and immaterial. And Ellis thought his direction and ideas were insane for the writing of the novel. So there was all this fighting going on at the beginning. And Mary Harron came on to direct, and she expressed that she found it really funny reading the book and loved the satire of this 1980s world, but said she will only do it if she gets to write the screenplay. And, you know, they agreed to it. They brought her on. She brought in someone else who found the novel completely unsavory, but she appreciated kind of this blend of humor and horror, which she felt like hadn't really been done in Hollywood to that point. So she thought this was a really unique spin, that this could be, not just a gore movie, but could be something truly unique. Bale, at this time, he was not the Christian Bale we know. This was his real coming out. Like, he was a child star. He was in Spielberg's Empire of the Sun. But he was not the movie star we know him to be now. And he really saw this as, he landed the roles when he talked with Mary. He said he felt that Bateman looked like this alien who landed in this unabashedly capitalist New York of the 80s. And he was the only actor that Mary felt like wasn't seeing Bateman as kind of cool and saw him as like a real slime bag, which I'm just questioning what all these other people trying out for this movie were thinking. The only other big news I have for this was there was a point when this was going through some real disputes because the studio did not want Christian Bale to be the lead in it because he wasn't known yet. Leonardo DiCaprio was signed on as the star for this. And
that would not have worked.
He ended up pulling out because him and his agent and someone gave him advice that this would not be a good look for him. And also Mary Harron did really not want Leo. She wanted Bale because she thought Leo was too boyish at this time. It was right after, filming would happen right after Titanic for this. And it just wouldn't have translated, she thought. I think this was the right move in the end for how this worked out. But yeah, this came out in 2000, 2001 and smash success.
Yeah.
Every note I have is about Bale in terms of like fun behind the scenes stuff. So I'm just going to save that all for casting. So Nick, how do you feel about the movie American Psycho?
I liked the movie. Thought it was much more palatable. And I mean, we have to talk about this cast. I mean, you have not only Christian Bale, who we're going to have to talk about in depth. You have a young Jared Leto, a younger Willem Dafoe. You have Reese Witherspoon, who is pretty young. You have Josh Lucas. I mean, this cast went on to do Matt Ross. I mean, this cast went on to do a lot of things after this movie. And it wasn't a launching point for all of them, but when you watch it, you go, a lot of finger snappers, right? Like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. Like, I know all of you. There's not a single person on the screen you don't recognize from something else. Yeah.
Was that a finger snapper like the Leo meme? Is that what you're doing, where he does the point when he's sitting on the recliner?
Yeah.
Yeah, this movie's, I mean, for me, this movie's excellent. I think it's because it can flirt in the horror genre while not being a horror movie in a way. And I think I was trying to think of something else that fits this mold. And I'm sure there's other movies that have been done like this and been done since, but this feels so singularly unique in terms of like the tone it had that I just don't even know anything that you could compare to it, even since then. What they were able to do in converting this truly disgusting book into this movie that's kind of a good time is, I thought it was incredible. And some of the scenes just literally crack me up, like so hard. Like business cards we've already talked about.
Yes.
Just Bateman dancing before killing. There's just the things he's doing in this. It's like this guy is just on his rocker, or off his rocker, I guess.
We didn't even talk about the Huey Lewis and the News and the Whitney Houston chapters of this book. I mean, in the book, you get page after page of just detailed analysis of the complete discography of both of those artists. And quite frankly, super entertaining. And I loved that they brought the Huey Lewis and the News into the movie. I thought that was, you had to give a nod to those chapters. And I was wondering if they, I guess it was the other way around. I was wondering if they were in the book. Way more detail in the book, but man, does that chapter slap.
Yeah, I learned more about Whitney Houston than I thought I would ever know from I mean, they literally read like you're reading the Rolling Stone music review
Yeah.
of an album that just came out, like assessing their entire career.
It might have been just a compilation of Rolling Stone articles about these two.
Yeah, that was the real troubling part of the book for me, because I was like, the level of obsession that Bateman has towards some things, I was like, this is too close to how I feel I get about some things sometimes. And I'm like, I don't want to read this anymore. I don't know. Any other high level thoughts you have on the movie before we slide into the
No,
categories?
no, I mean, let's get into casting. I think casting's a 5 out of 5 for me. I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah, I'm curious if you're gonna have any like how we even do. This is another one like Casino Royale. It's like, who else do you nominate when
I've
you
got
have?
some noms.
Okay, yeah,
I mean, there's a clear winner.
there's a clear winner.
But what do you give the casting?
There's an out and out. Um, I actually gave casting a 4 here, which I think is pulled entirely by Bale for me, and the surrounding cast I think did a great job. I think the tough thing about the movie was a lot of the characters just didn't stick as well as the book in terms of knowing who is who.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like a lot of the female characters in this, I don't know, you didn't get enough, but just like those dynamics that Patrick had with all of them that you see in the book, I just don't know if that translated to the movie. And I don't think that was a deficiency on Reese Witherspoon's part, but I don't know. It's tough. I'm even questioning myself here because like the cast is so funny in this that they all hit the tone perfectly.
Yeah.
But
I don't think that's a casting issue. I think that's almost an execution issue.
yeah, I don't know.
Because like I don't think having somebody else cast other than Reese Witherspoon gives you what you want.
Yeah, and I'm also sitting here thinking like, do I really want to know more about Timothy Price and have a more in-depth character study on him in this book? Probably not. Like I don't need that. But I mean, in terms of like Bale brings everything to this movie. Like one of the best performances probably ever in especially this type of movie. Like in something in the horror genre, which this is considered.
Mm-hmm.
Especially to be the lead, you know.
Yeah. He did a great job.
He did a great job. Few things on Bale.
Oh, yeah. Hit me.
When he had said when he was looking for a way to create the character of Bateman, he stumbled onto a Tom Cruise appearance on The Late Show with David Letterman. And Bale talked with the director and the co-writer and said Bale saw how Cruise had this very intense friendliness with nothing behind his eyes. And he based the character of Bateman in this movie on that. And it's even funnier because Tom Cruise is in the book. He like is in the elevator with him at one point.
Oh, that's right. Oh my God.
And he gets, I know. And he gets, because he gets the name of his movie wrong, Cocktail. And he called it like Bartender to Tom Cruise's face in the book, which was hilarious. The other great Bateman stuff. Actually, yeah, I'll save this one for scenes because it shows up there.
Okay.
But yeah, so hit me with the nominees.
Yeah, your nominees for best casting are Christian Bale, Reese Witherspoon, Josh Lucas, Willem Dafoe. Did I say Willem Dafoe already?
No.
Willem Dafoe and Matt Ross.
I think it's going to have to go to Josh Lucas. No,
honestly, fair.
It's
Craig
Bale.
McDermott was a great character.
Yeah. Actually, the guy who played Luis, it wasn't what I had in my mind.
Matt Ross, yeah.
I guess they call him Lewis, but it's spelled Luis in the book. I was confused by that. That character and his interactions with Bateman were so funny. And then just his performance as him was just hilarious because of how much it enrages Bateman.
Yeah,
It makes me laugh every time they interact.
yes.
So I'll give an honorable mention to him because he was
Okay.
really, really funny in this for just giving the performance that you can see it getting a rise out of someone like Bateman who takes himself so seriously.
Yeah.
Do you have any honorable mentions outside of Bale, like of those kind of the performances that you really liked?
I mean, I think Willem Dafoe is an S tier actor. I'm
He's
gonna
so
love
good.
everything he does. I thought Reese Witherspoon was a good cast here because she played that bubbly kind of yuppie that is everything he hates very well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because she was Evelyn, right?
Yes.
Who is his long-term girlfriend in the book.
Yes.
Plot execution and faithfulness. How'd you feel they did? Converting.
They did a really good job. I mean,
excellent.
I think they got the emotions across they needed to get across. I think I liked the direction where they toned down some of the stuff, but they hit all of the major beats. It was still this like unreliable narrator story. I mean, I just think the faithfulness was excellent. I think the plot execution is where I'm dinging it a little bit, and kind of some of the things you've already mentioned where I don't always feel that those ancillary characters got their everything they needed to across, and I don't think that's a limitation of the performances. I think it's a limitation of the writing and the script.
Yeah. We said that. Yeah, I thought they did a great job figuring out a way to convert this into a movie to have it be screenable. Like, such a good job. Skipping nearly everything in the beginning of the book. Very minimal nightclub restaurant scenes. I think was a good choice. And yeah, they tapped into the right things. I think this is the classic example for me where I think the adaptation just accelerates or accentuates, maybe is the right word, the source material so well and makes it even better, while still being like completely faithful to like what was written in the book. So this is like just the classic example of that, of just taking something that was good and making it really great, in my opinion. And I'm finding so often with some of these things we cover, you always have the preconception the book is better than the movie. And I feel like we're getting a lot of examples of like, this movie's better than the book. And this is one of them for me.
Is the movie better than the book, or is it just something you found more palatable?
I think the movie's better, out and out better. But it could just be because I prefer the less intense version of the story.
Yeah.
I'm thinking.
Sorry, go ahead. Nope, go ahead.
Nope, go for it.
To that point, I think it depends on what you like. Will depend on which one is actually better in your opinion. I think the book was done really well, and if that more gruesome horror story is what you're looking for, I think you're going to enjoy the book more than the movie, to be honest. But I'm with you. I enjoyed the movie more, but I don't know that it was better. I just enjoyed it more.
Yeah. I think, I was saying it from my own personal viewpoint.
Yeah.
Not objective. My discussion point. Did he murder everyone that he claimed?
I don't think he murdered anybody.
Nobody.
I don't think he murdered anybody. I don't think the police chase happened. The question you have on here, I'm going to steal your thunder, and I'm going to apologize ahead of time.
No.
Is Bateman really Bateman? I'm going to say yes. That is such an interesting question, though. And the only reason I think I have to say yes is too many other people were referring to him as Bateman, including the private investigator, Willem Dafoe. And that's the one piece of that puzzle that, because if it was just his friends and Evelyn, whatever, I'd be like, maybe he isn't. But because of that piece, I think you have to say Bateman is Bateman. But I don't think any of the other stuff really happened. I think he's just slowly going insane throughout the book and movie. What about you? What's your take?
I'm not sure, because as I was reading this book, I probably wrote in my notes on my phone 12 times. Why does no one know his name? Every person, the hit rate on people getting Bateman's name right is like 2 for 10. Like I just didn't I was like, why does no one know who he is? Is it just trying to portray this idea that he is just so overlooked and he's just one of a dime a dozen in New York City of these people who have actually no personality and soul? They're just all the same people going to the same nice restaurants, going to the same clubs, doing the same cocaine. Like, is that what we're trying to get across here? That they have no identifiable traits outside of what accounts they run at work and what firm they're with. So I thought maybe that's what it was, but I was like, is there something deeper to no one knowing who he is? And I think the big thing in the movie is you get to the end and his lawyer doesn't even think he's Bateman, thinks he's someone else. So it's like this person who has intimate, you would think, relationship with him. But maybe not. Maybe it's just he's just one of many of his clients.
I don't think he necessarily had that relationship with him, because throughout the movie and book, it's alluded that Bateman's dad or whatever runs a different Wall Street firm.
Yeah.
So I think this guy is intended to be like the Bateman family high-powered lawyer. Yeah. Who wouldn't necessarily know who this kid is, but would absolutely know the family and the name.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I took out of that.
That's a good point. I do think some of these murders happened. And when I was trying to think of like where in my mind the true break from reality to fiction happened for Bateman in the movie, and I'd have to think about if this is the same for me as in the book, it felt like in the movie when he has his secretary Jean over, it seemed like that things really shifted for him after that. And I don't know whether it was because she was very different than all the other men and women that he was interacting with at that, but she seemed like a genuinely good person. And it seemed that whole part of the movie was like really affecting for him, where like he wanted to murder her, but he kept finding he couldn't. And it felt like something broke there. And he only became more and more unhinged from that scene where he plans to kill her. He decides not to, and she goes home. So I kind of think something shifted for him there in the movie. I don't know if it's the same for me in the book, though.
So you think he did kill Paul Allen? Because at the end, here's why I say that. You have the apartment thing. Yeah. Well, one, they say he's alive at the end because they had lunch with him in London the week before. The second thing that gets me there is he went back to that apartment and they were like, what are you doing here? Like, this guy does not live here.
Yeah.
And the third thing is, do you really think anyone would have bought Patrick Bateman's London answering machine shtick that happened? No, he probably tried to call Paul Allen, got the answering machine, and that's like the connection there for him. And I don't think any of it happens.
Yeah, none of it. Well, I disagree with you that I think a chase definitely happened. Were the police involved, and was anybody running after him? Probably not. He was probably just
fair.
running through the street.
You're right. No, you're absolutely right. That definitely happened. But he did not take his magic gun that he'd not had the entire movie, blow up a cop car with a pistol, and then no shot.
No, that was crazy. I don't know. It's hard for me to imagine how deranged he is that no one has gotten hurt from his actions. Like I just think like either one of the hookers he picked up or maybe one of the homeless people like had to have happened. But then he starts to maybe embellish these higher stakes ones. But I don't know, man. I'm questioning it now because like when in the early book scene, when he takes his sheets to the laundromat, I'm like, if you took white sheets to a laundromat that clearly had that much blood on them, like how is he getting away with any of this? And how is he not killing people, which has to be very loud in an apartment or a condo, whatever he has? It's not like he had a standalone house.
No, and uh, to the point about some blood, because I think in the movie it was just a little bit of blood. I do imagine that some of the like rough abuse towards the prostitutes was real.
Totally.
I don't think it ever escalated to the point of a death.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, you might be right. Because there's even, now I'm thinking back to it, in the book, they describe this a little bit more, where he sees Evelyn's neighbor in the first chapter of the book going into her house. Later, he says that apparently the police found Evelyn's neighbor decapitated. And then halfway through the book, he makes mention that her head is in his freezer. And it's almost like, did he really murder and decapitate her neighbor? Or is he just like fantasizing about this because he binges videotapes all the time about this stuff? So I don't know. I definitely don't believe all of it happened, but I just have to imagine some of this stuff did, but maybe not.
I'm in the know.
You think he's a big fat phony?
Yeah, I think, well, to your point, things like him running panic through New York, or him being abusive towards prostitutes, that happened. I fully would believe that happened, but I don't think any of the murders happened. That's what I don't believe. And I don't believe that any of the cops were involved in anything ever.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you might be right. Do you have any unexpected comedy that you want to shout out from book or movie?
I mean, the fact that Donald Trump is this guy's hero in the book and they talk about it over and over. I mean, could you have a more topical joke that ages well as this total shithead loving Donald Trump? I mean, come on. Like,
I know.
Especially can't make this stuff up.
This is like peak New York era of that. Like, I think they make reference to the book all the time, The Art of the Deal or whatever. And it's just like, it's so funny that a literal psychopath idolizes Trump. It's like, at first I thought it was going to be a one-off joke in the book, and then he just kept coming back to it. I'm like, wow, he really loves this guy. Kind of checks out. One thing that was not in the movie, probably because Bono did not want it to be, was when he goes to the U2 concert and he feels he has a spiritual connection with Bono, where Bono's the devil. Like, I was like, man, I don't know why. U2 has just always gotten made fun of. They're like the 80s version of Nickelback in some ways.
Just one of the most commercially successful bands of all time.
I know. Best Scene Award. I'm going to run through these.
Oh, wait. I got some. We didn't talk about, did we talk about Tom Cruise in the elevator?
Yeah. We did when I was making reference to Bateman, or Bale basing his performance off of him.
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other funny things from, I mean, we'll talk about these in these best scenes right here.
Okay, hit me with
nearly every scene is funny in some way.
Yeah.
Best Scene Award. The morning routine. Liz and I both had this conversation. I always thought this was a cold open to the movie. I forgot that there was like a scene before this of kind of like, out at the nightclub or whatever. And then it goes into the morning routine. But yeah, him rattling off his skincare routine and putting on the mask and all of that.
Okay.
The business card scene.
Love it.
Dude, the scene just
so glad that's on here.
Every time they slam it down and just how visibly upset he's getting. Because how long do you think that section was in the book? We had like 5 pages of business card descriptions.
Yeah, at least. I mean, it was a long time I was listening to business card descriptions, and I thought it's so funny to me.
Yeah. He was so worked up over, he thought he had just this amazingly cool business card, and literally everyone stunts on him. I forget the guy's name. Was it Paul who had the best one?
Yeah, because Paul came in out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Slinging those things around.
Yeah. Third scene. The killing of Paul Allen.
You like Huey Lewis in the news?
They're okay.
I laugh for this being a murder scene. I laugh the entire time. Do you like Huey Lewis in the news? He does like the finger gun point to the CD. And just like the way he does. So the moonwalk back into the room was improvised by Bateman. Nobody had any idea that Bale was going to do that in that scene. Just coming out of his bedroom back into the room. And then just his like the shoulder shimmies he does as he like works his way. It's just cracks me up every time. And I forget what he screams at about the Dorsia reservation after he kills Paul out in the movie, which is great for how much you hear about Dorsia in the book. It was just like, this guy is psychotic. Fourth scene, the tension of the Jean at the apartment scene. Because you see Jean as an innocent bystander. You're like, oh my God. I felt scared for her in the book the whole time. I was like, please don't kill Jean. Like, she does not deserve any of this. Not that anyone deserves what Patrick does to them. The chase and the voicemail he leaves to his lawyer.
It's a great scene.
Great scene. And then the end, kind of the bombshell drop where he meets the lawyer. The lawyer says that he just had lunch with Paul in London. What are you talking about, Bateman?
Mm-hmm.
Did I miss any big scenes before you give?
There's the whole nightclub scene where they're doing coke in the bathroom.
Yeah. Who's the guy? Is that Price? The guy who's just an absolute lunatic?
That is...
Or is that McDermott?
Craig McDermott.
Yeah. Yeah. McDermott was a wild card in the book, too.
He's a much bigger wild card in the book than in the movie.
Yeah. I thought Bateman was going to kill him in the book. I was like, this guy is getting on his nerves.
Looney Tunes. Yeah.
What's your
I gotta go with
scene?
the business card scene.
It's so funny.
I gotta go with that. I think the two that you mentioned that I was really struggling with were with this was the chase was and then the end were fantastic scenes. And because there's even that moment, and this is what I thought was done so well, is Bateman shooting at the cops and the car just explodes into this giant fireball. And even he, in this moment of perceived, at least what I perceive to be psychosis, looks at the gun like, what?
Yeah.
Like, did that really just happen? And then runs away. Like,
yeah. And like, you have the ATM that says like to feed it a cat or something. And he's like looking at the cat on the ground like, wait, what? I feed it the cat? It's a great scene. And he said he was slugging espressos before having to film the voicemail part. Because Bale's a noted method actor. So he was very much trying to be in the head of Bateman. That scene is so good.
I believe it.
We didn't rate this on plot execution. What would you give it?
4 out of 5.
Yeah, I'm a 4.5 here.
I think I want to downgrade my casting to 4.5 as well.
Yeah, I'll allow it. World building and aesthetics. How do you think they did capturing the 80s Manhattan vibe here?
I'm going to go with a 4 out of 5. I thought what they picked, and again, I wasn't around in the 80s, but it's what I imagined the 80s in Manhattan to look like.
Yeah.
I thought the clothing was spot on.
Yeah.
The gaudy restaurants they were in were spot on.
Yeah.
It's just really fun.
They had a lot of problems with the clothing because all these designer labels did not want to be associated with a serial killer or in his mind, serial killer. So, I don't know like any of these brands, but one of them was like, okay, he can wear our clothes, but he can't wear them when he's killing anyone. Rolex agreed, that anyone in the film could wear watches except Bateman. That's why they had to like change the line from "Don't touch the Rolex" to "Don't touch my watch." Perry Ellis provided the underwear after last minute Calvin Klein pulled out. It was just all this stuff going on of all these designs, which you can do in a book easily, but when you start having it on film, it's a little tougher. But it was so good. I mean, just those outfits, it's almost a little like Office Spacey too. Like I think of like the suspender over the dress shirt, Like the
Oh,
collar, that's the different color than the shirt.
classic. With the cufflinks that are different color. And you see those now, and it's
Yeah.
kind of like a classy throwback look.
Yeah.
But that was like in.
Yeah.
I think it
Oh.
looks goofy.
Yeah, it was big in. They also did it, like, if I think about world building too, of just like bringing over like nods from the book too. They did a really great job with it. Like, I think in his bathroom, he has like the Les Mis like poster above the toilet. All of the music chapters are the music that's playing when he's doing kills in the movie, which was fun.
Okay.
So that was how they brought all of those chapters over, which I think was really, they just did a great job of like, hey, if you read the book, like there's a lot here that you'll pick up on.
That's really cool.
Yeah. So I gave it a 4. I think it looked great. The vibe of the movie, you know, that 80s New York was excellent. Clothing looked good. Those nods looked good. There's just nothing that was like true, like blew me away in terms of any of it, but it was really well done. They did a good job with it.
Nice.
Soundtrack. Unique one. As
no original score, right? It was all it was great. You had Phil Collins, you had Whitney Houston, you had Huey Lewis. I mean, like you said, it just made it adds this weird levity to some of those scenes that makes it almost fun.
Yeah.
With the music.
I mean, it succeeds in making it fun for me. Like, amazing. And there's something about just like, especially the 80s vibe, because whenever I hear Huey Lewis, I think of Back to the Future. But it's just they did such a good job. And we just haven't had a lot of things we've covered on this show that are pure pop songs. Like a lot of the stuff we've done have been a lot of scores.
Yeah.
So it's been new territory for us here with this one.
I mean, Argyle had some, your favorite movie.
That's true. Did you have a favorite needle drop?
If it's not the Huey Lewis in the news from the Paul Allen scene, maybe was it Studio?
Yeah. The Phil that's my favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love Phil Collins. One to start.
He's done everything from Tarzan to this.
But especially after getting the full just breakdown of the Genesis, every album, I felt like I really
Is that a pun? Because Phil Collins was in Genesis? Were you making
No,
I
was saying of the actual band Genesis. Like, we got the full breakdown in the book on Genesis. That I felt so informed where this band was at the time that Sussudio dropped. And I was like, Bateman, you have really blossomed my Phil Collins knowledge. Which
honestly,
was just incredible.
He was in the wrong career. He should have just been working at Rolling Stone. Yeah.
Yeah, you made him way happier. Yeah, I was like, this is extremely insightful. The only thing that I took offense to, which I'm used to this by now, was he took some shots at Bruce Springsteen. And I was like,
the boss.
I know. I was like, get out of here, Bateman. No wonder you're a serial killer. Yeah, the Sussudio drop was good. I think just like the new, like even outside of the killing scenes, just the new wave sort of vibe, genre of music. Just, it was so good in this. And what was really weird was we watched this, I think last weekend on Saturday, or maybe it was Friday night. The next day we were watching Donnie Darko, the early 2000s movie with Jake Gyllenhaal, and the complete same vibe. Like, that movie was in 1989, all like a new wave soundtrack, like 2 or 3 overlapping songs. I'm like, this is weird. Like that, I was like, I feel like I'm watching something in the same universe. But yeah, those are great. I had a lot of fun with this. I gave the soundtrack a 4.5. I just thought they killed the vibe here for a pop soundtrack. Yeah.
Yeah. So legacy and standalone then.
How do you feel about this?
I mean, as far as the legacy, I think it's got a pretty good one. I mean, people still we were talking about it, and it's what, 2024, so 35 years or 35 years after the book came out. Because didn't the book come out in the early 90s?
91, yeah. Book-wise, so much controversy when it came out because of the content of it.
I bet.
But movie wise, I think that this is an extremely well thought of movie.
Yeah. I mean,
And
it's
sorry, yeah,
what's the Rotten Tomato score? Do you know?
I have no idea.
Or let's see. Yeah, I mean, it's got an 68 tomato meter, 85 popcorn meter. People love it.
Yeah. And when it comes to horror and comedy, every sort of review aggregator site I see, I add, like on IMDb, I add like a full 1 point to everything horror comedy, because
Yeah.
horror and comedy is like so subjective that I won't fault anybody like if they don't find something funny, because that just might not be their type of humor. And same with horror.
Mhm.
Like the horror either works for you or it doesn't. And
Yeah.
so I feel like there's always like some real low reviews that drag things down like that. And I could see somebody like not enjoying this book or movie because of the content. But I think if you talk of it, it's so weird no matter how many times I say it, horror movie for this. But I mean, it's got to be one of the most iconic of the past 20 years. I guess it's more than 20 now, right? But
It's almost 25, yeah.
yeah, of 2000s horror.
Yeah, of 2000s horror, it's definitely top of that list. I think it gets bumped down to the much lower because you have everything Jordan Peele's done in the last 10 years. You have movies that were massive successes like
Like think of like a
Blair Witch
Hereditary
Project,
by
the other one.
A24.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Yeah. But I mean, this is also a movie that is so well known for its lead performance that the Bateman character is unbelievably iconic and what he did there. I mean, and also the memes around this one. I mean, there's like 4 GIFs in constant rotation in the world from this movie.
Yeah. 24 years later. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
Is there any question about who won the movie?
No, it's Bale won this movie.
Christian Bale.
Yeah.
He's our 4th double winner, I think.
Yeah. The only case I would make would be the director, Mary Harron, because she fought for Bale and she not only got him, and then he turned out this amazing performance, but she also said that she will take this movie if she can write it, and she wrote it with her co-writing partner. And they did this impossible task of converting this book and translated it to an expert level of the craft. And I just think the way that they were able to take the source text and then make this a movie that like is as palatable and funny and still as biting in its critique of that type of culture as it is, like, can't be understated how great of a job they did. But
I'm not trying to take away from how they did, but I just think what happened to Christian Bale's career after this movie defeats whatever happened to Mary Harron right after this movie, because he's been catapulted. I mean, you can't talk about, this or Batman or anything else, like The Big Short. Like, you don't talk about things he's in without talking about him now.
Yeah. I was watching, he had some YouTube video where he was going through his most iconic characters. Of course, this was the first one he covered. But I also forgot about the movie The Fighter. It was a great, great performance by him, where he plays the Mark Wahlberg's the boxer and he plays his brother.
Yeah.
He's so good in that movie.
Dude, he's so good.
Yeah. No, I think the legacy of this is really solid. I'm at a 4.5. I mean,
I'm at a 4.
This is going to be, I think Patrick Bateman will stand the test of time in terms of a horror character.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think I just love, like I said it at the top, like just how unique this movie is. Like, there's just nothing that is done quite like this for me.
No, it's fantastic.
Big fan.
Yeah. Definitely recommend the movie.
Yeah, it's on, I think it's on Netflix right now. We're in spooky season. Go ahead and watch it. I think, especially if you're not into scary stuff either, like this is very watchable. The only
A
scene
bit more on the slasher than scary side.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the only turn my head moment I had in the movie was when he like stomps on the homeless guy's dog. Hate that part. Hate that part.
It's, believe it or not, I mean, to the listeners, I know you know, but believe it or not, it's worse in the book.
It's way worse. Yeah. Yeah. Amazing movie though. Anything else you got to say about it?
No, what's the total score?
So I should have been adding this up. 12.5 plus 9 is 21.5. You gave a 20.5. So that is what, 42. 42 out of 50. It's pretty good.
It's a good score.
Yeah.
Solid.
Yeah. Yeah, I think what really does bring this down for us is the
Depression.
Yeah. What the state that this left us in when we finished it.
Yeah.
Which is tough. But wow. Expert level writing. Great translation of the material. This is everything you want out of an adaptation. That's why we exist. Anything else you got to say?
No, you want to take us home? Thanks
for listening, everybody. This is old notes that I have written in here, so they don't relate anymore. So I'm just going to do this off the cuff. We already mentioned next episode. The main feed is our 25th episode. It's crazy. Yeah. 2 a month. And we're going to be entering that'll be our 11th month, because November will be our 1-year anniversary. So 25th episode is next episode. Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. If you have thoughts or questions you want to share, please reach out by email at rewatchplaypod@gmail.com, Instagram, rewatchplaypodcast. As always, if you have suggestions, send them in. You can find us on all your major platforms, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts. Please rate and review, 5 stars only. Still got that nail gun in case you don't. And please share the show. Thanks for listening, everyone. Thanks, Nick, for joining me. Take it easy. Thanks, buddy.